In this video, I would like to talk about professional identity in the academic career. One of the reasons why I thought about putting this video together is that I am an interdisciplinary scholar. So that means I don't necessarily belong to conventional academic disciplines such as sociology, psychology, economics. So it is difficult for me to identify myself as who I am in a broader context, not only in academia but also outside of academia. Because if I try to explain what I do to my family members and friends who are outside of academia, their questions always like, "What is gerontology?" Like, I've never heard of it. Like, what do you study? So sort of you have to start from the scratch and explain like what it is, right? So that's one of the reasons why I've been thinking about this professional identity. Then I thought that would be helpful, especially for graduate students, early career researchers, as well as someone like me who are in a mid-career stage, who has been thinking about like, where am I going next? I hope this would help you think about your own career trajectories. There are so many decisions we have to make throughout the career. What kind of research you should be working on, and then whenever there is an opportunity, should I take this or should I let it go? When some people ask you to work with them, should I say yes or no? If somebody asks you to direct undergrad or graduate program, or sometimes they might ask you to become a department chair, like, should I say yes or no? Those are all important decisions that could alter the next phase of your career. But at the same time, it is so difficult. There are so many moving parts. There are so many things that we need to think through. So as a first step, knowing who you are, at least knowing what kind of faculty members, what kind of researchers we want to become. That is probably a very important piece of information for our decision making. The second reason is that academia is such an interesting and unique place that most of the time you have to set your own research agenda, teaching agenda. And although depending on the department needs and university needs, we have to sort of go along with them. But most of the time we set our own research agenda, basically create your own to-do list, and then you are responsible for completing them. And then often each faculty member, researcher has very unique area of research. You may have a department mentor, or you may have mentors from elsewhere, but it's really difficult for anyone to fully understand where you are going through and what your goal is. So it is important for us to think through ourselves, then know where we are going. Otherwise, you feel like you might be sort of isolated in this like big academic world. And looks like, going through all the graduate training, doing extra school work, we may have a long career. In my case, I started my career in 2012, so maybe I'm looking at a little over 30 years of my career, but I'm already into 11th year, right? So I'm literally beginning of my mid-career. So I really need to think through where I'm going next, because first 10 years went really fast. So I had to get the tenure, I need to get promoted to a full professors. So I invested my time to achieve those goals and achieve long-term goals. So who am I? Identity as someone in academia. There are so many ways to express yourself, like how do we present ourselves to other people in academia or outside of academia. I am a researcher of certain topics or certain area, or maybe we want to be known as an excellent teacher in a certain area, or maybe we want to be known as a great leader, like a department chair or dean, as an administrator in higher educations. So thinking about who we are, people we want, what kind of professionals we want to become, isn't really important decisions, and you need to plan accordingly, and you need to think about like how we can get there. We need to start articulating where we are in our academic career. You might be a first year assistant professor or third year associate professor, or you might be a full professor already. So depending on where we are in our academic career, we can set our next agenda to get to where we want to be in 5 years, 10 years. So knowing where we are is also quite important. So the question now is, how do we find out who we are and where we are going? This is just based on my own experience, so it might not apply to everybody, but hopefully some of them might be a useful piece of information. Number one is the remembering why I decided to have an academic career. Everyone should have had some sort of reasons why they decided to go to a graduate school, why they decided to go to academic career rather than private industries or non-profit organizations. So thinking about the origin of your motivation is quite important. In my case, I was in sports management when I started my graduate training, but I realized that I can only serve for very small fraction of the populations. And then when you think about the population aging, given my cultural background, I'm originally from Japan, so aging is an important issue in most of the countries in the world. Is there anything else that I can do to support this population aging and make things better? So in that sense, gerontology as a field of aging, study of aging, I felt like I could do something meaningful for the greater number of people. So that's sort of another reason why I started to pursue my PhD in social gerontology. Remembering where you came from, what was my initial motivation, is still important, so that whenever I make decisions, like why am I doing this? Why am I in academia? Because I wanted to do something positive for population aging or older populations, right? So that's sort of like one philosophical way to think about my decisions in my career. The second thing you can do is to think through what you want to achieve in your academic career. Because if you don't plan, if you don't have a big picture, if you don't have an ultimate goal, maybe in 5 years we'll be talking about the same thing, like who am I, where am I going, right? So I think it's really important to have at least tentative ultimate goal. So throughout my career, this is what I want to do. It can be very different goals according to individual careers. Some people might want to say, I want to do this type of research, and then I want to make people's life better, or I want to do this kind of research, I want to inform the public policy at the federal government level, or you want to become an excellent teacher and make an impact on students' lives, or maybe you want to become an administrator to make higher education better, or to make your department an ideal workplace for other colleagues, right? So there are lots of different goals that you need to think about. And another thing you can do is to get opinion from your trusted mentors and colleagues. If you have made it to academia, you must have someone you can talk to. Maybe your advisor from graduate programs, or one of your colleagues that you can sort of like freely discuss your concerns and your goals. It is really important to share your thoughts with people whom you can trust. Then get honest opinions. It might hurt, sometimes the people give you critical opinions. It might hurt your feelings and such, but it is important process to get other people who are in academia or who understands academia or who understand you to give you critical opinions. Finally, we always need to make an adjustment as we go. So maybe 5 years ago, I didn't know where I will be today. There have been some unexpected opportunities, and there have been some unexpected issues that slow my career down. So things happen. So we need to readjust our goals and where we're going next, and according to what's happening. So just as an example, this is what I see in my career. I identify myself as a social gerontologist, and the social gerontology is an interdisciplinary field. I also identify myself as an interdisciplinary social science researcher who uses the quantitative research methods. So when some people ask me to work with them, I always just have to think about like what my role is going to be. Right? Then if it fits to my identity, I might have a positive response. But if it's way outside of my expertise or something that I wanted to do, then I might have to say no. Sometimes it's good to be a part of totally different project. It's very refreshing. There's always things that you can learn. In order to achieve my long-term career goals, I don't know if that's the best decisions. And I also identify myself as a mid-career researcher. When it comes to research, I feel like my identity belongs to education, lifelong learning, and the life outcomes research. These life outcomes may include health, employment, quality of life, and well-beings. And then I tend to focus on the later life stages or older populations, even though I'm quite interested in the sort of like overall life course outcomes. And then when it comes to teaching, I've been thinking about this, but I feel like my role in academia is to teach gerontology and social science quantitative methods. That being able to teach gerontology, which is not the conventional academic discipline, is one of my strengths. One of the strengths I see, and some of my colleagues agree, is that I can sort of explain complex statistical methods in more accessible way to students and my colleagues. So I feel like these two are my strength, the being able to teach gerontology and the social statistics. Then that's important part of my professional identity. I also think that I'm fairly good at helping students, graduate students from very beginning stage to become an independent researcher. Becoming independent researchers means they can come up with their own research questions. They can do their own data analysis. They can write up their own manuscript to get it published. So I'm still working on it. I'm very good at helping students from the starting point to this initial stage to become a researcher. So I feel like those two things would make up part of my identity. And when it comes to service, I'm still not sure. So I decided not to discuss that in this video. I also identify as a lifelong learner. So I would like to continue learning new ideas and then statistical methods for personal development, research, and the teaching. And I feel like learning along with students is another important identity of myself. Hopefully these things are helpful, and then I will continue thinking about this for myself, and if I come up with something new, I would like to share again.